Welcome back. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Imran. Now, this is Speed News. Let's get started. Hamas said it is prepared to coordinate with the Red Cross to deliver aid to hostages that it holds in Gaza if Israel meets certain conditions. This comes after a video it released showing an emaciated captive drew sharp criticism from Western powers. Hamas said any coordination with the Red Cross is contingent upon Israel permanently opening humanitarian corridors and halting airstrikes during the distribution of aid. According to Israeli officials, 50 hostages now remain in Gaza. Of these, only 20 are believed to be alive. Hamas has so far barred humanitarian organizations from having any kind of access to the hostages, and families have little or no details of their conditions. Prime Minister Netanyahu has compared Hamas with the Nazis and accused it of trying to break Israelis after a second video emerged of an emaciated hostage saying he was near death. Netanyahu has called on the international community to take action against what he termed the group's cynical and evil propaganda. In the US, hundreds of PTI supporters took part in a protest march in New York and Chicago expressing support for jailed former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan. The protesters rallied against Pakistan Army General Asim Munir and called for the release of Imran Khan. The protests came ahead of the August 5th mega rally planned by the PTI in support of Imran Khan. US President Donald Trump said his special envoy Steve Witkoff may travel to Russia this coming week. Trump warned Moscow of more sanctions if it does not agree to a ceasefire by Friday. Trump also said that 2 nuclear submarines he deployed following an online row with former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev were not in the region. Trump did not elaborate on the exact deployment locations, which are kept secret by the US military. Deputy Chief of Staff at the White House, Stephen Miller, has said that India buying Russian oil is unacceptable to the US president, highlighting the White House official described Trump's relationship with Indian Prime Minister as tremendous. A 25% tariff on Indian products went into effect on Friday last week, resulting as a result of India's purchases of military equipment and energy from Russia. Trump also threatened 100% tariffs on US imports from countries that buy Russian oil unless Moscow reaches a major peace deal with Ukraine. Amid China's frequent incursions and intensifying maritime operations near Taiwan's territorial waters, Taiwan's top leadership has issued one of its most urgent warnings to date, indicating that China may be preparing for a full-scale invasion of the island. In a recent interview with Sky News, Taiwan's Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, Francois Wu, stated that the threats from China have been escalating rapidly and that the island is facing an unprecedented level of military pressure from Beijing. The statement is being viewed as one of the most grave and direct warnings issued by a senior Taiwanese official that underscores the heightened state of alert in Taipei. Francois Wu also emphasized that the United States military is actively engaged in defensive strategies to safeguard not only the critical semiconductor industry but also to protect broader US-Taiwan national interests. The bodies of a pilot and his son were recovered after their plane plunged into the sea off the Spanish island of Mallorca. Divers searching for the pilot and his 13-year-old son located their bodies in the sea after a search on Sunday. The two-seater team rocket F-4 Raider plane crashed into the sea in the Puerto Solar area on the August 2nd night. Spanish media reported the plane appeared to be performing stunts before the crash. Chilean copper miner Codelco said 3 more workers trapped at its El mine were found dead. With this, the total number of fatalities from a collapse last week has risen to 4. 1 person died at the time of the incident on the 31st of July, while 5 others were trapped. Chilean copper miner said rescue teams have now cleared 24 meters of blocked passages at the mine as they seek to reach the area where the remaining workers are expected to be. South Korea's military said on Monday that it had begun removing loudspeakers along its border with rival North Korea in a move aimed at reducing tensions. The speakers had previously been used to blast anti-North Korean propaganda across the border. South Korea's defense ministry said the physical removal of the loudspeakers from the border was another practical measure aimed at easing tensions between the war-divided Koreas and that it does not affect the South's military readiness. Brazil's President Lula da Silva reaffirmed his government's willingness to negotiate with the US and added that the country does not want to fight. Trump signed an executive order slapping 50% tariffs on Brazilian imports. A Brazilian judge was also sanctioned by the United States for what Trump calls a witch hunt against a far-right ally. Thousands of Jair Bolsonaro supporters demonstrated on Sunday at the Copacabana beach in Rio de Janeiro. Bolsonaro supporters demanded amnesty for those involved in the January 8th attacks. Rallies were organized in several cities, including Sao Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. Bolsonaro is currently being tried in the capital Brasilia for plotting a coup after failing to win re-elections in 2022 against leftist Luis Inácio Lula da Silva. Renewed sectarian clashes in southern Syria's Druze-majority Sweda province killed at least 4 people on Sunday. Damascus has accused local groups of violating last month's ceasefire. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 3 Syrian security forces personnel were killed as clashes erupted with local factions around Tal Hadid in the western Sweda countryside. The observatory also reported the death of a local fighter. The province witnessed deadly clashes between Druze fighters and Sunni Bedouins in July that drew the intervention of government forces and tribal fighters who came to support the Bedouins. Once a heavily guarded palace, the former official residence of Bangladesh's ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is being turned into a museum as a lasting reminder of her autocratic rule. Mohammad Yunus, who is leading the caretaker government, said the conversion to a museum, the decision to convert it to a museum would preserve memories of her misrule and the people's anger when they removed her from power, quote unquote. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian arrived in Pakistan on Saturday on a two-day state visit. Pezeshkian's visit is aimed at strengthening ties and increasing bilateral trade volume to $10 billion annually. President Pezeshkian is accompanied by a high-level delegation, including Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, senior ministers and other high-ranking officials. Thousands of spectators gathered in Benin on Sunday for the country's annual Mask Festival. The annual cultural event celebrates ancestral spirits, heritage and traditional identity with elaborate wooden masks, colorful fabrics and rhythmic drumming. Performers danced through various locations in the country's capital, reenacting age-old stories passed down through generations. The Dragon Bravo fire burning in northern Arizona, including in parts of Grand Canyon National Park, is 12% contained. A U.S. fire official said that over 1,200 personnel are mobilized against the blaze to contain the fire started nearly a month ago on the 4th of July. Several towns in eastern Australia were blanketed with their thickest layer of snow in decades as wild weather swept the area this weekend. This resulted in floods, stranded vehicles and cut power to thousands of homes. Snow also settled in areas of the neighbouring state of Queensland for the first time in 10 years. In the Indian state of Uttarakhand, the Indian Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for 3 days in the districts of Dehradun, Nainital, Champawat, Bageshwar, Pauri Garhwal and Udham Singh Nagar. In view of the alert issued by the IMD, Dehradun District Administration announced the closure of all schools up to class 12th and Anganwadi centres for today. Dehradun district is likely to experience intense rainfall activity today. Oil prices fell after OPEC Plus agreed to another large production hike in September, but worries about disruptions in Russian oil shipments to major importer India limited losses. OPEC Plus agreed to raise oil production by 547,000 barrels per day for September, the latest in a series of accelerated output hikes to regain market share. It cited a healthy economy and low stockpiles as reasons behind its decision. The move is in line with market expectations and marks a full and early reversal of OPEC Plus' largest tranche of output cuts. Analysts at Goldman Sachs expect that the actual increase in supply from the 8 OPEC Plus countries will be 1.7 million barrels per day. Citi raised its gold price forecast over the next 3 months to $3,500 per ounce from $3,300 and the expected trading range to $3,300 to $3,600. And that's on the belief that near-term US growth and inflation outlook has deteriorated. Experts say the tariffs imposed last week on scores of countries are likely to stay in place rather than be cut as part of continuing negotiations. Gold, traditionally considered a safe haven asset during political and economic uncertainties, tends to thrive in a low interest rate environment. Citi estimates gross gold demand has risen over 1/3 since mid-2022, nearly doubling prices by second quarters of 2025. Indian equity benchmark indices were trading higher following a positive start. Investors kept a close watch on Q1 results along with the Reserve Bank of India's monetary policy. The committee meet for its monetary policy at 11 a.m. IST. The BSE Sensex was trading above 80,000 points and the Nifty 50 quoted above 24,600. Auto and metal stocks outperformed the index. 1409 listed stocks advanced, while 1194 stocks declined. The fifth and final test at the Oval is headed for a nail-biting finish. England chasing 374 to win ended day 4 on 339 for 6, just 35 runs shy. Harry, Brooke and Joe Root starred in a stunning counter-attack before bad light halted the play. Brooke and Root's 195-run partnership put India on the back foot, but a crucial moment came early in Brooke's innings when Mohammad Siraj took the catch at deep mid-wicket but stepped on the boundary rope, and Brooks was at 19 and then went on to score a century, and so did Root.